Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with my third and final video for you tonight. Elizabeth Collins Stoddard versus Mrs. Johnson. Morality, right? Man, Elizabeth, what can I say that hasn't been said? Matriarch, the foundation, really, of the Collins family, if you will. Sure, I know we were told it's Isaac, but really, we never meet Isaac. We meet Elizabeth, the da- the daughter of Jameson Collins. What a lady! I mean, played by the late great Jim Bennett. When I think of morality, you know, and I think of a morality you go sort of back and forth with, it's definitely Liz. Look, when you say Dark Shadow's characters had a lot on their plate, that's not an exaggeration, and really, Elizabeth really had a lot on her plate. I mean, think about it. Here's a woman whose whose husband was a piece of shit and was trying to steal from her. So she clubs him over the head with a fire poker, thinking, "Well, she killed him." You have this guy named Jason McGuire who basically you're not basically you are giving money to silence and stay gone forever. Newsflash: he doesn't stay gone forever. He eventually comes back, but prior to that, there's a lot of other things that Elizabeth, who is cooped up in her house, is now stuck with for the rest of her life. Elizabeth, why didn't Elizabeth tell Victoria Winters the truth? I think honestly, I could give you a lot of reasons, but I'll simplify it for myself here. I think she really just wanted to protect Vicky as much as she could, and really bringing her there, getting Victoria there was enough for her. And I know how that might sound. That might sound cheap, but really think about it. You know, we all believe and know that Victoria is Elizabeth's daughter, but no matter what pain Liz has underneath, and I don't mean pain for Victoria, but the pain of the fact of having to give Victoria up. And now here's this girl who's all grown up. She can literally look at Victoria and goes, God, she made it. She made it this far. And I don't mean to Collins support. I mean, Liz can literally look at Vicky and say, hey, I left, yeah, sure, I gave her some money from Bangor, but this girl has made it. She was raised in an orphanage. She made it to this age. She didn't die. She didn't, she made it. She's here. And I think that's what really Liz appreciated most is the fact that Victoria made it. I mean, she gave her up at such a young age. Do I blame Liz for not telling her? I more understand now than I do blame. At first I did. I'm like, why wouldn't you just tell this girl, hey, you're her mother? But I sort of get why. And it's not just because of the family fortune or the money. I just think she could not bear to look someone in the face and really just go, I'm your mother, and this place is hell. And really, Collinsport could be. I mean, Collinsport, we know, and really Collinwood, are just scary. It's a scary place. And Liz has seen some has seen some dastardly people. I mean, Paul and Jason. And really, I want you to think about a secret. If you have a secret, who's it best to keep it to? Yourself. And really, if no one knows that's your daughter, Is she really in any harm? That I think honestly that's Liz's thinking. Hey, the less people know, the better. So she's just here to work with David. I don't blame Elizabeth. In many ways, she felt she was protecting Victoria and herself, and that's just how she felt about it. Do I think that Liz suspected Paul was alive before it being revealed by Jason? No. Think about it. Elizabeth does not leave the grounds for 18 years. And now I'm not counting the fact that she was shipped out of the house but by the Phoenix. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. She didn't go willingly. The first time to me Liz really leaves the house of her own accord is when Carolyn gets in trouble. And she leaves. She finally leaves. You want to talk about a moral decision to sort of show your daughter, hey, I care about you. That is Liz right there. I mean, Victoria helps her, but it's ultimately Liz's decision to go. And it's amazing. When I think of moral compass, it's not just so much about integrity or pride. It's about the strength and the fact of being a Collins. I think Liz went through more things to help her realize, first of all, not just be married to Paul, but an affair. I do think she had an affair with another man while she was married to Paul. To fully understand, she had to go through all these things to fully understand and appreciate what it truly meant to be a Collins and to have the pride of a Collins. Because the Collinses weren't without their scandals. But the fact of you had to have that integrity with that name, and you had to do anything to keep that integrity. And if that involved telling a little white lie to a governess, then so be it. I can't blame Liz. I really can't. When I think of moral compass, you might say, well, that's not exactly the most moral thing. Maybe it isn't. But in the same sense, it's, you know, telling a keeping a secret to sort of protect the person and to protect yourself. Well, sometimes that could feel like the right thing to somebody, and I think that's just how it felt to Liz. What a character. What an amazing, amazing, amazing character. Morally, where would I grade her? Like, I would say a solid 7. I mean, look, she does stand her ground. Sure, again, you could get into the immoral thing she does. And, yeah, again, lying is not the most moral thing. I would agree with that. But she does some very valuable and moral things. She does stand up for people and stand up for what she believes in, which is really good and cool to see in a character. Now, speaking of morals, or a question there, Mrs. Johnson, and I'm just going to come flat out and say this, okay? And we all know this is true. Mrs. Johnson is a spy, okay? No, I'm not just meaning for Burke Devlin. I mean for whatever agency she still is currently working for. For all we know, this woman has a dossier like this thick, and it's so thick and so secretive that she's got more hits than a mob gangster on a Saturday night, okay? This woman's probably got so many skeletons buried in the closet and in underneath a ground someplace. It's not even funny. Sarah Johnson is really a mysterious character. And all kidding aside, and yeah, I do believe Mrs. Johnson is really a spy, and I'm not just meaning for Burke Devlin. Think about this. What do we really honestly know about Mrs. Johnson? Her name is Sarah Johnson. And it seems like, oh, some people really like her and stuff. But man, when she talks to people, she's very direct. She lets them know how she feels. She's not afraid to let people know how she feels or be direct with others. She questions everything everybody does, and she really pokes her nose where ultimately it doesn't belong. But in every sense, she's questioning and constantly grilling. And then there's times she'll do it very laid back, like, oh, this, oh, that. And it's like, lady, who are you? Are you just a regular housekeeper? Or are you really this spy? Because I'm starting to believe that you are a spy because nobody, and I mean nobody, does housekeeping this way. Listen, I personally think Mrs. Johnson sleeps with a 45 under her pillow. I mean, honestly, has anybody checked that woman's room? Literally, has anybody just looked under her pillow? No, you say? Hmm. Hmm. No, when I think of the morality of Mrs. Johnson, I honestly think this woman, from a moral standpoint, is a spy. I mean, let's be honest here. Think about this. Mrs. Johnson says something that I've always found interesting. You know, she's talking to Jason McGuire, and Jason says about, oh, Billy was asking you about your family. No, not about my family. You wouldn't get two words out of me about my family. Oh, really? Really? Why? Because they're non existent? Because you secretly have no family? That your family is just a cover? A cover, Mrs. Johnson? That the name Johnson itself is just a cover? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nudge? Mrs. Johnson is a spy, folks. Mrs. Johnson is a spy, and most likely she's had more wet work assignments than we'll ever know about. And again, she's probably shot a few people in her time of day, or a few hundred. I really think if Mrs. Johnson was told to whack somebody at Collinsport, she would have done it, and we would have never known about it. That would have been the episode where everything just blacked out and you would have just heard the revolver go off. Bang! What was that? Who did that? We never know. I wonder why. No, all due seriousness. I do think, again, Mrs. Johnson was a spy, but because there's just so few information about her. I mean, everything we get told about her, the only time we actually see a relative is Harry Johnson. And conveniently, think about this. Harry Johnson's had a criminal past. Isn't that just the oddest thing? I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, every family has their skeletons, and that's certainly one of the big cool themes of Dark Shadows. But doesn't anybody find that skeleton a little too convenient for Mrs. Johnson just to, oh, by the way, this here is my son Harry. And he's got a bit of a criminal problem. Or is he really an agent in training, Mrs. Johnson? Is Harry's real name Harry, or is it something else? When you think about the morality of Mrs. Johnson, you need to question everything about this character. And I'm serious when I say this. This character has more question marks around it than any other character when you think about it in Dark Shadows history. Honestly, think about this woman's past. What has it been? You want to talk about Victoria Winters has no real identity? Does Mrs. Johnson really, other than what you're told? No, no. And don't buy it. Don't buy what you're told. Sure, she'd pass a lie detector test. She's been trained to pass a lie detector test, okay? She's been trained to shoot every type of gun. Let's put Mrs. Johnson to the real test. Take her to the shooting range, and if she doesn't blink when she fires that gun, it's most likely because she's done it before. Telling you. Alright, guys, I hope you really enjoy these videos. These are fun to do and come on here and talk about. You guys have a great, great night.